Hello and welcome to the tutorial series for the Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past major glitches. In this series I intend to cover a path that you can follow to get yourself into various major glitch using modes from a standpoint where you're already proficient in a no major glitches mode. Let's start with the very basics, overworld glitches. That will be the content of this video, and I intend to show off every technique that's within logic that is expected of you to be done in order to complete a overworld glitches seed in the v29 logic. This video will not feature many out of logic techniques, but I intend to show off a few that are fairly convenient to use. Let's start with the very basics. How do we use major glitches in the overworld? Our most powerful tool that we will have available to us by default is going to be the boots. You start with this in every overworld glitches seed, and you will use a technique called dash buffer. So in order to dash buffer, you press the dash and the directional input that you want to use for directional buffer. You press them at the same time. This will allow you to move a single frame at a time in a direction. You can move it right side, move it north, move it south. Most important for us is going to be able to move left and right while dash buffering. We only want to move a single frame at a time. This is going to be very important because for that single frame you will be ignoring collision for the most part, and we want to abuse this mechanic to achieve different effects. So one thing to note is that you'll be moving different amounts of pixels in a single frame. For left and for up, you move 2 pixels per successful buffer, whereas south and right, east, you will be moving 1 pixel per successful buffer. If you hold the directional input or dash too long, you may have a problem. Here I am holding the directional input for too long after releasing dash. That causes me to move extra pixels. You generally don't want that, so you want to be pressing and releasing at the same time. If needed, go slow. This will probably cause quite a few problems in the tutorial. I'll be covering those as they happen. So the practical application for this is to clip into cliffs, and by doing this we can achieve an upwards or downwards teleport effect depending on how deep we go. So the general theory around this is, in order to teleport upwards you need to dash buffer in 8 pixels, and in order to teleport downwards you need to buffer in 9 pixels. We will not be counting pixels, it's generally impractical. Instead we opt to use visual cues. And right, so left side clipping is generally what you want to do. It's the easiest to use clip because leftwards you move 2 pixels at a time. There's 2 types of bumps in the right hold on these cliffs. There's the short one, you can see up here, the one I'm standing next to, and there's the long one. And for reference, we will always be using Link's shadow. Even if you're using different sprites in the randomizer, the shadow is going to be consistent, although for certain sprites, the sprite itself covers part of the shadow. That might be an issue. When you're learning, I recommend that you use default Link so you don't actually miss your cues. So you want to look for this very particular, this is for the short bumps, you want to look for this very particular 2 pixel high section in the bump in the cliff. There's going to be 3 pixels, then followed by 2 pixels, and then it's only a single pixel high. So you want your bottom of the shadow to be lined up with the top of this 2 pixel high bump. And then you can start dash buffering. So dash buffer, more and more. And I am clipping into the cliff. If I am at any point pressing, well, that actually is a bad example. If I am at any point pressing left for too long here, I am just going to be kicked out of the cliff. So it's very important that you buffer yourself one frame at a time. Now, you may notice I am holding out my sword facing north while I'm doing this. There's 2 reasons for this. First off, while I'm holding out my sword, I'm not turning. This is a very good aspect to abuse because that means I can buffer myself all the way in. If you're up against the wall, well, while you're holding your sword, it's not a problem, but... oh, it's just a wrong kind of wall. I'm going to show it here. So you cannot actually dash while you're up against the wall, so you cannot dash buffer either. In fact, I am unable to use this to dash buffer north and south. So I generally just want to be facing north for all of these, and the other big reason is, if you note, I am just dash turning, I'm not actually moving. Dash turning means that I start a dash, and then I press a directional input, which means Link will turn without moving a single pixel. If you note the shadow, so if I'm dash turning north and south, some of these end up being buffers, sorry about that. But if I'm dash turning north or south, the shadow remains the same, but the moment I turn left or right, the shadow actually jumps into a different position. You don't want that. So holding a single direction with your sword out is the most optimal thing. There's another reason we do this, and I'll go into that the moment we start teleporting. Alright, so once again I line it up so that the bottom of Link's shadow, this line here, is in a line with the top of these 2 pixels. And I am going to buffer in. So this is the first thing you want to remember. The first position, if your shadow is creating this nice little arc combined with the cliff, that means you've buffered in 8 pixels and you'll be teleporting upwards from this position. Indeed, I have just teleported into this doorway. Careful with this, you can get stuck in various cliffs, various obstacles even, and if you accidentally teleport past the screen transition, that's where things may get weird. We will be using this aspect later, but for now, let's move on with the downwards teleport. So this was the upwards teleport. If you see this position, you need to be 1 pixel to the left here, but you cannot achieve that with a single buffer since you'll be moving 2 pixels to the left when you do a dash buffer. So you move 1 in, come 1 out, and you want to see this neat little 3 high block on the Link. So combined with the shadow and the cliff, we get a 3 pixels tall dark area there, and that's how you know it's going to be a downwards teleport. Indeed, I teleport downwards, and I am able to... This is Bombo tablet, by the way, if you're not necessarily familiar with the cliffs here, so I just teleported up to the Bombo tablet. One thing I did not mention, so that is the position you want to achieve, and what you need to do from these positions is move down and left if you're clipping left side, move down and right if you're clipping right side. Both inputs have to be held on the same frame. If only one of the inputs is held, so here I am going to only hold left, I get kicked out. If I only hold up, no, not up, but if I hold up, I walk off. If I hold down, I just get kicked out again. So you need to be holding both down and left for this to work. Excuse me? Trying to get back into that position. Alright, so we're here. So one of the nice aspects of having a sword spin is you cannot move while you're spinning. So this allows you to have a buffer where you have time to press the 2 buttons, and only once the spin is finished will you teleport. You can try to do it unbuffered. Personally, I don't like it. So I'm just going to try doing it unbuffered. It worked there. You can do it unbuffered, but if you don't press the 2 buttons at the same time, it's not going to work. Alternative ways of buffering it are... Alternative ways of buffering it is start. While the start menu is raising, you can start holding the input, and you can also buffer it with select. For this technique, you press select, and while it's appearing, you already hold down left. And then you cancel the select menu. Once you cancel it, you'll be teleporting. So those are the main ways you can do it. There's also a... Although I have no idea why you would do this, but it is possible that you simply slash your sword. And while you're slashing, you also cannot move for a few frames. You can see I stop for a few frames when I'm slashing, but it's a fairly tight timing. For these longer bumps, so these longer ones have sort of a different architecture, but as you can see, there's 1 pixel here, and then there's a 2 pixel tall column, and then there's another 2 pixel tall column, and then there's a single pixel, and there's 2 horizontal pixels. So you want to be... This is probably the best way of showing it. You want your bottom line of the shadow to line up with the top line of the second 2 pixel tall bit. And then the visual cues are the same. You either have this nice little arc, which can teleport you upwards, and I am not going to teleport downwards there because that might be an issue, but you want to have a 3 pixel tall... This is a long bump, so I can show it off here. You want to have this 3 pixel tall column here to be teleporting downwards. You may note that I teleported on a very specific bump. I call this a rule of thumb. So if you see a 2-layer cliff like this one here, you want to be teleporting from the second bump. If you see a 3, 4, or 5 layer high cliff, you want to be teleporting from the third bump from the bottom. So this is bump number 1, bump number 2, and bump number 3. This is a rule of thumb that will work for most cliffs, but not all of them. If you teleport too low, so this is silly, this is obviously not going to work, and I'm actually going to do it from the left side because left sides are much faster than the right sides. So this one can achieve a teleport here, but it's not too useful, right? If I do it from the second bump, I'll be teleported somewhere around here, which will cause me to be stuck. But if I teleport from a very high bump, for instance this 4th one, 5th one, this might actually work. So this one had me stuck in the wall, and then it took my down left input. I visually didn't move, but I was actually here. I took my down left input, and then I performed a hop, which threw me over to that cliff. There's easier ways for us to get up on that, but that might be nice to know. Let me see if I can find something in the area that is safer to show this off on. So this is the 4th bump. This might work. As I mentioned, right side clips are much harder because of the extra distance that you have to move. it is double the frames. Alright, so this one also threw me off. You always want to be teleporting to this this wholly vertical cliffside, and near the top of it, so you can hold a single input and then jump off of the cliff on top of whatever plateau is on there. So as you can see right here, I am on the cliffside and I'm jumping up. Alright, so let's talk right sides. Right sides have a identical structure. Where's a good right side that I can use? This looks good. Right sides have an identical structure to the left side ones. There's the small bumps, where you want to have the same arc, except this time it faces left. So this is an upwards teleport. I am not going to do it because it's going to put me in the wall and I have to reload. Alright, fine. Yep, I got myself stuck, but that's fine. And for the longer bumps, the very same. Use the top of the second 2 pixel column. This is downwards, but there's not an adequate amount of space here. I also teleported from the second bump, so I got myself stuck again. That's generally what you don't want to do. So if I want to desperately get up there, I can use this third one. And the position is the same for the downwards one, where you use that 3 pixel column as your visual cue. You can just jump on top of it. So you can do the same clips in the dark mode as in the light mode. Here the visual cue is a slight bit more consistent. Every cliff consists of this rock that is separated by this dark area. So you want to use the rock's right edge as your 2 pixels that you line up with the bottom link shadow. There's going to be a vertical wall stopping me there. I want to be using it this way. Once again, left side, right side, all the same. You want to be getting this neat little arc for an upwards teleport. You want to be getting this vertical line of 3 pixels for a downwards teleport. Again, same thing from the right side. I am really bad at this execution thing. Right side flips, again, generally just much more difficult. Double the number of frames that you need to cover with dash buffers, and if you hold the directional input for too long anytime, then you'll be knocked out. So again, this is a downwards teleport, and this is an upwards teleport. Neat little arc upwards, neat line downwards. So that is how you clip in the dark world. Alright, so that should cover how to dash buffer and how to teleport, but there's a variety of walls in the game, and one of them is this thin separator that runs along the bottom of that mountain here, for example. And these ones are actually too thin to hold you up, so you can... There's a whole lot of cabbages here. So you can clip all the way through these, and once you reach the final pixel, as you're dashing, you will quick hop and you will land on the other side of it. There's a few practical applications to this one, also in this general area. we'll be discussing that later, but generally you can do that. Not much to it. Now, notice these 2-layer cliffs. You can count the layers. This one has 2. It's dark, light, 2 layers. These are, well, not tall enough to stop you from getting into a hopping position either, so on these cliffs you can go past the teleport position. It doesn't really matter where, and we'll be using the special property of this cliff here. So this is a nice diagonal into vertical shape. This is what you want to look for when you're trying hops like this, in most cases, because this vertical section is going to catch you, and you can just clip all the way through and end up here. If it were completely diagonal, let me see if I can. I mean, we can show off the effect here. So, oh, I know where I can find one. This, no, actually, over on this side. Disregard the completely broken screen transition down there. We will be talking about those. So this is a 5-length multi-layered, and this is low enough that the vertical section cannot actually catch you, so you'll just jump into another hopping position on this cliff. But I am actually too high, and this vertical was preventing me from clipping in even further. But if I were to do it up here, then I can actually hop on top, and then I transition screens. Alright, so that's a hop, and we can get a similar hop effect with a spin speed clip. So let's start here. There's few applications to spin speed clips. The less frequently used one, you can gain spin speed by either charging a sword spin, and on the first frame of you releasing the spin, you hit a dash. If you did it correctly, you cannot slash your sword afterwards. You can cancel a spin speed state with dashing, and then you can also trigger a spin speed state by using a hook dash, which is using a hook shot and dashing on the same frame. As you can see, I can't slash my sword again. So these types of cliffs, in general, you can spin speed clip in using a horizontal wall that would be south of you as a helper to keep you in position. But even if there's no wall to the south of you, you can neatly line up with this sort of broken joint that you can often see in these. And if you do and hold down left, I didn't, you cannot use dash buffering to get into the correct position either, because you'll lose your hook dash. Do it correctly, line up, hold down left, you will run into this and get a hop out of it. It's easier to show up here. So this one has the horizontal wall that will hold you in place, so I just hold down left against it. Now I've screen wrapped, so you want to be careful with that. Screen wrapping is when you jump across the transition in some manner. As you can see, I actually jumped through a transition without transitioning, and it has a very, very high potential of hard locking. Generally, your teleports won't hard lock you unless you manage to teleport off of the bottom of the screen, for example. There's actually an easy way to show it up here. Excuse me. Right. So here I have a teleport that will get me up to dark rocks below me. This is one of the scenarios that work for downwards teleporting, is when you have horizontal wall and the bump just right above it. So in this position, it actually puts me up here, and I can then teleport off the map, and hooray, everything breaks. And if I press, okay, I have to press left to crash the game there, but point is, generally it's safe, but if you do weird things, it might become weird. Let's see here. So yes, you learn these lineups, so you can easily get into position with a spin speed clip. In the overworld, off of Death Mountain, generally it's not that useful for anything other than shortcuts, so you can get up here. I need to hold down right for this one, on the correct Y pixel, I can get on top of this, and I go around. One of the positions you'll be using it in is not this, but the other side of this. So this one, it's easier to, because you have the horizontal wall to hold you up. You can use your spin speed clip to jump on top of it. This is a very versatile location as well. I think you can downwards teleport on top. But if you don't want to teleport, you can also substitute this spin speed clip with clipping all the way in. Unless otherwise specified, normally spin speed clips can be substituted with dash buffers. So for the next one, I have this Death Mountain state again. I can use this spin speed state to get through various joints of Death Mountain as well, which will be quite useful. This one's really nice. All of these can be gotten through. Oops, I got the infinite scroll over there. Yes, you have to be very careful what inputs you press after you jump through one of these transitions. If you clip off of the bottom of Death Mountain, generally speaking, you'll be landing in across the transition. If you have ever spin sped around here, you'll note that these also work. So if you are in an actual activated spin speed state, those can be weird things that can happen to you. All right. So let's talk about Link's position. As I mentioned, screen wraps are a thing that may happen, and indeed they do right here. So, locally, I am still on the very screen that I have wrapped off of by jumping off the bottom of Death Mountain. This is the same screen, and if I walk all the way down, if I can find my way, oops, I picked something up. That's going to be a problem because that doesn't let me use items. I can find my way down. Now my collision matches, but I have no shadow. No shadow usually indicates that you grab and your global position does not actually match your local position. But I can actually just wander back down, get into Old Man's Cave here. Now, the interesting thing to note about your global position being shifted, am I down yet? I think this is the next, yep. So, according to the map, I'm actually in the Hyrule Castle courtyard, and we will be using this. Death Mountain being a very long screen, I can put my global position down a lot. But its real purpose is that mirror portals, when you mirror, are actually placed at your global position. So this way I can scroll the global map all the way down and then place a Dark World portal somewhere along this line where I desire. Again, we'll be using this later. Now, note that, again, I'm still in the Hyrule Castle courtyard according to the game, and this might cause problems. In fact, I think if in this state I try to transition left here, sorry, right, then I'll get a very broken game. I'm already unable to interact with any of these sprites. Yep, I'm just down here somewhere. I'm actually in the moat. Your transitional data depends on your global position as well. I think a more broken interaction I can show is maybe if I jump off here, try to transition to the left if I can, and I got into an infinite screen scroll because the game does not really know. So again, when I do this, please work. Okay, now it worked. When I do this, the game actually thinks I'm down in the graveyard. So Death Mountain is one big screen on this side. There's one big screen here, but under it there's actually several small screens. So what happens is, based on my global position, the game says, alright, listen Link, there's a screen transition there, because again, it's right here. There's a screen transition there, but I don't have the transitional data to know what to do with that, and that's why I get into an infinite scroll. The game starts transitioning and never comes out of it because there's nothing to transition to. So whenever you've wrapped, keep in mind that your transitional lines may not match up to what you're seeing, and if you walk into a broken transition, well, you in fact get an infinite scroll hardlock. Hardlocks are a problem in randomizer because you will lose progress. Alright, I'm going to get myself into this infinite scroll one last time just to show off. So I'm going to walk around Spectacle Rock here. I'm going to get into it, and as you can see, I'm mashing select, I'm mashing start, mashing any of the buttons. Please do something, but it won't do anything, so I can't even save and quit. So I have to hard reset the game to get out of it. In a live race, here I just load the save state, and I'm fine. Right, a sec. So you can fix this by using a multi-entrance cave or a dungeon. Dungeons are considered multi-entrance caves, so it fixes it. And as you can see, I walked into the multi-entrance door that is on the same screen as I wrapped, came out of it, and now my local position is same as my global position. My camera is still following Link. Everything is fine. But if I were to say walk into a single entrance cave down here, Spike Cave does not have more than a single entrance. It is on the EG2 map, not the EG1 map. Enter it, exit it. And I have the same broken camera as before, and in fact I can just walk back into Spike Cave. So nothing changed on the outside. These kinds of transitions do not actually fix you, and once you're down here, you in the Dark World, you really have actually no way to fix it. If you're down here in the Light World, or if you can get yourself in the Light World in this area, I used to be good at this. Get yourself all the way to the bottom of the Night World. It's important to remember the visual cues on screen, where you can find various things, because they will be in the same place every time as long as your camera is identical. So there's another way for me to fix it down here. It's the Old Man's Cave. Since the Old Man Cave has a back and a front exit, it's multi-entrance. it is on the EG1 map, so it fixes cameras. You enter and exit, and I have my shadow back, and Link is considered to be on Death Mountain here. Wrapped cameras can be abused in different ways. I'll show off a little bit. There is some logic part of it that is used in this mode. So the final thing that I want to show off is mirror clips. One of the bigger deals that is still in the logic for overworld glitches is mirror clip. So there's two positions where this will be commonly used, and you might recognize it as the OG clip that gets you over to East Death Mountain or West Death Mountain. So for a mirror clip, I want to be on the other side of this thin wall, where I already am past this very thin blockade. So for this, I'll be placing my Dark World portal just right next to the cliff, and I will be buffering 1 pixel in. This is the furthest possible pixel I can get without bonking off of this vertical wall. So I'm still in the Dark World, I didn't bonk, that's very nice. I'm going to mirror again, but this time I am going to walk to the very, very edge of this portal. Just have to wait for it to bonk me back. This spin was not required. And I am now on this cliff. So this is fairly slow, but an easy way to get on top of this wall. And it's not very clippable, and you may have to do this as a bunny. So that's one of the reasons that this is still relevant, is because bunnies don't dash buffer too well. Then I can just hold right and jump out of bounds here. I can collide with these things, collide with this thing, I can even transition off. And in fact, back on, if I don't want to be down there. I can use another mirror clip here. How do I pass this barrier? I think I changed the collision when I transitioned, so that's not good. Okay, so that's the basic theory behind the mirror clips, and there's not a whole lot of practical applications to it, but there are some. Now, let's move on to what you'll be using to get around in the overworld glitches mode. This is, you may recognize this, this is just the screen to the left of the bunk rocks that have a chest in them. There are a few techniques that we call Death Mountain Ascent, which allows us to get on top of Death Mountain only using the boots. I don't need any extra items for this. This is going to abuse the screen wrap state, and this is a classic ascent, as it's called. This is probably the first one that was discovered. So here I am going to perform an upwards teleport off of any of these ones. And now I'm actually on the next screen over collision-wise. So we can just walk into this cliff. You can walk onto this tree. You are screen wrapped, so you should be careful with what you're doing, but in general, you can just move around. In this state, I can transition right from here. I'm going to do it somewhere on the upper layer of this cliff. Now I seem to be on Death Mountain. So this, you have to remember that when you did this, you wrapped your camera, and that's something that may hardlock you. So in this case, we wrapped to the north. So I'm actually one screen to the north. I can just do up and down movements to reset the camera on top of Link. And as you can see, I'm now colliding with sprites, but not the terrain. If you remember this exact position, select should be easier. This exact position is where the entrance to the Old Man Rescue Cave is going to be. You want to walk into it, and as it is multi-entrance, since this is the vanilla way to get up on Death Mountain, it's going to fix my camera. One of the dangers of this ascent is because you have sprites on your screen that you can collide with. These squirrels, dead rocks, those boulders will all hurt you, and this can be very difficult to do on early game gear. Now, another thing that you can instead do is use this tree as a lineup, and we're going to perform what's called scrollers. This is a much safer Death Mountain ascent. You want to be remaining on the Y pixel that you gained when you moved up against this tree. If you ever get moved off, you'll have to line up against the tree again. So I'm going to buffer in a set distance, and this isn't a teleport, this is sort of a hop. I'm going to fail it a few times here. So the position you want to remember is Link's shadow creating this U shape with 1 pixel sticking out from Link's side. So there's 2 pixels here, and then 3 pixels here. And from here, you hold down right, you'll jump here. You hold right, you jump into the transition. Once more, you hold right, and you wrap across the screen. So now, these dead rocks that you can see here aren't anything that can hurt you. There is one dead rock up by Tower of Hera that can hurt you. You're actually on the Ether Island when you do that. As you can see, oops. Yes, you're never supposed to walk back when you screen wrap. And then hold down right long enough. It's too far. This is good. So if you get a feel for the collision, there's one of these rocks in an actually identical position, and then you find yourself on the bridge if you move far enough to the right. So at this height, you're on the bridge. Just dash all the way to the right, and eventually you'll collide Hera. Now be careful not to move too far, and somewhere around this X pixel there is going to be an entrance to Tower of Hera, and now you've ascended Death Mountain without a risk of taking damage from anything. Again, occasionally this dead rock, which is currently gone, so since the screen is still processing, occasionally this dead rock might find its way to the Ether Island. So when you land from that screen wrap, you're actually here. You cannot collide with the Ether tablet, and it doesn't exist when in a wrapped state. Then you have to find your way onto this bridge, dash over, get into Hera. So that is what we call a squirrelless Death Mountain ascent, one that puts you on the Ether Island and starts with Hera. While we are here, might as well demonstrate. So the top of Spectacle Rock item can also be acquired here. What you have to do is take the third bump. This is non-standard because this actually places you on top here. It's due to this little thing being non-standard. It places you roughly here, then you can just keep holding down right and you'll end up near the item. Jump down, check Spectacle Rock Cave, and other follow-ups. Now, what can we do on Death Mountain? Most of the things that we do will actually start with what we call the Hera flip. So, when I do this spin speed flip, and let me show you where I am. So, coming from the old man spawn point, there's this very particular rock. Past that is this cliff section. This is probably one of the most glitchable cliff sections on Death Mountain. Once again, get a spin speed. Then you can jump across and get into Hera. If you're really good, I am not, so this is not going to work out, but you can do a right side flip. Yeah. Boulders make me nervous. I cannot right side flip when there's boulders falling near me. So when you land here, you are actually on one of the... it's easier to show you. If you press up, then you don't need to jump. press up after landing, you don't need to jump, and then you need to go a bit to the right to find your way into Hera. So when you're landing in that position, you are actually on one of these little columns, and if you press up, then you'll be snapped a little lower, and then you can just walk off of it. Now, if you happen to get stuck because you didn't press up, say you press down because you wanted to move off of it, seems like you're stuck, you can actually just... Huh, that's interesting. Usually, if you get stuck on it, but maybe I need to press it this way. Yeah, I got myself stuck on it. If you're really stuck on it, you can just hold up and you will jump off the wall. Now, you may find yourself in a situation where you need to descend from Death Mountain. There's a few ways that you can do this. Generally, there's not a whole lot of applications to descending in the light world, but despite that, I will show you. So once again, same little rock as with the Hera clip, except this time we'll be going left. So now you've wrapped the screen, and that's not good for us. If you were to press down at this position, you would enter an infinite scoring hard lock, because the game wants to transition you down. If you were to press up, you'd be snapped down because you're stuck in something. But here's the kicker: if you actually just decide to dash and bonk to the north, as you can see I entered the screen, you should always press dash first and then hold the appropriate directional input. So if you are in a screen wrap state and there is a transition following you, and in our case there was, bonking and taking damage cannot force you to transition. So in those cases, the transition following us will just catch up to the bottom transition of Death Mountain here. So you always want to be specifically dashing north during a Death Mountain descent. There may be some extra steps required, but in this case, if you do it in this position, you can only dash north, and then once you're here, press south, and you'll get this neat little auto walk. So if you are precisely on the screen transition and you press the appropriate input to put you into the transition, you will be kicked into an auto walk, which will basically force you to walk down half a screen. Now, note that this isn't natural. That's the graveyard right there, and that's also the graveyard right there. That's actually Kingston. This is a broken transition that's caused by the game not knowing what to do with you when you have descended. And the way to fix this is just to scroll my camera past that broken transition, and now it's caught up, and I can move into it. If I were to skip doing that, and I'd moved into it, and we'd enter the infinite scroll. That's not good. Be mindful of anything that looks broken. It might look natural, but it isn't. Another thing that you can do to descend in the light world from Death Mountain is here. But here you cannot just dash straight up. You have to press, I believe, right first? No, that's my bad. I generally use the right side one, so educational videos on the one that I don't use aren't that good. So I press left and then I dash up. So you just want to tap left, you see your screen snap a little to the right. Once you press that, you dash up and you're good. Alright, so for this part, well, you don't actually need to fix your camera at all. You were roughly in the center of the screen, and if you're roughly in the center of the screen, then these descents won't mess up your camera. A more common use, and actually I'll show that off from here, is that you want to descend in the dark world. So let's say I acquired Moonpole and have no other items, and I maybe have a Sphinx Spit, so I have a couple of options. This cliff can both be done the same way I showed you in the light world with spin speed, or I could just clip all the way through to the left here. If I would dash buffer once more, I'd be jumping up, but I want to show that you can do it with hook shot as well, or with spin speed with sword. You jump down. In the dark world, you do not want to press left. You just want to dash straight up, press down, and you're descending from Death Mountain. This is a completely illogic way to access the dark world in an overworld glitches series. Let me see. There is alternative. There's an alternative in Dark World that you can do with mirror or with spin speed. So, as I showed off the mirror clip earlier, you can get to the same position by doing the spin speed. Actually, no, you can't. But this should put you in the trees. Alright, I'm probably going to be cutting that one from the video, or just leaving it in for laughs. There's a lot of experimentation that goes with glitches. Oh, I probably want to use this high rock one because that lands me in the same place as the mirror dummy. Yep. So that's the place I couldn't pass before, and yeah, this is it. So I can just come down here, and I'm on top of the fairy drop, and in fact, if I have flippers, I can just jump off and go my merry way. I could have done it over on this side as well. Anything else about Death Mountain descending? I don't... Oh yes, there is. So from this position, and spoilers, I can get on top of Turtle Rock here by teleporting down. And hammering these pegs. You can access this portal by just teleporting. You can also get over on this side as a bunny with the mirror clip. We'll show a little bit of that once I get to the mirror clips. You can also get over here by doing an East Death Mountain dash buffer clip. One of the big enemies of runners is the catfish. Now, I have a spin speed state, I just go through here, it lands me conveniently on the transition, I just press south, I have no control over this, I don't need flippers or anything, I land in the catfish area, and if I don't have gloves I can even use the flower. Well, in Rando, using the flower actually gives you an item. Alright. Whatever. So another thing you can do is descend to the Zora area. And stone on this side, you just dash against this wall to the right. And you'll be just below the Zora area. You can enter it. BMDs, one or more. This one's a little bit trickier than the other ones, but it may be useful if you've already checked this area, for example. So for this, I get spin speed down here, and I slowly nudge myself to the right. Once I've landed, I press up, not down, up. Specifically up, and that auto-walks me near the witch's hut. And from here, I can check the witch, buy some potions. I can use this bump. This is a shortcut, and a lot of the shortcuts will not be discussed in this video, but this is a nice little candy that you can use to optimize your routing. So as soon as I manage to get this clip, I get a downwards teleport from the 5th bump from the top, hold down right, and I'll be dropped here. I can hop down, dash through on either side. It doesn't really matter. If you dash through on that side, you'll be landing here. If you dash through on this side, you'll be landing here. You can go check Sahashala. My camera is entirely stable. My shadow is present. If your shadow is present, you need not worry about hard locks. So let's discuss East Mountain. Let's say I don't have the hook shot, let's say I don't have the hammer. I know I can already get to Hera using a Hera clip. Oh, before we go on, the Hera clip. So, if you don't want to do this from the right side and without spin speed, there's a possibility that you end up in a position that you don't have spin speed. You still want to get to Hera. You can use this. And I'll show you the exact positions in a moment, but you clip through the middle here, and then you'll land near the Hera doorway. Now, in this place you can get soft locked if you press the wrong input, so you want to press right to snap yourself to the left. Generally, when you're stuck in an object, pressing a direction will move you in the opposite direction. And since we're stuck in the wall just right next to the entrance of Hera, I can use this technique to get myself out of it. Now I press up, which frees me, and now I can move around and enter Hera by moving to the left and up. Alternatively, if you want to keep your camera wrapped and don't want to enter Hera, once again, tap right, tap up, and then hold down left, and I'll come down the stairs. So, the exact positions for this, it's not a very exact... Wow, that boulder shadow is perfectly covering everything. Okay, so this is the general area where you want to be. This is probably the highest or the second highest pixel that it works. Generally, what you want to be a little bit lower. You can always check your vertical position by comparing Link's shadow's bottom row with the pixels on the cliff. So this is sort of the desired position where you want to do it from, and eventually you'll get a feel for it and won't even look at the lineup. If you go too high, then you get blocked by this semi-vertical wall that's here, and you cannot clip through. You'll be stuck in this area. If you go too low, then I'm actually not sure what happens, but I can try it real quick. You get thrown off, and I actually managed to get myself stuck in something. So you just want to do it on this indentation, second one from the bottom, a little bit below it. That is an alternative to the spin speed heavy clip. So let's talk East Mountain. This is going to be a weird one. It works in both the light and the dark world. You want to be using the second bump from the top. You'll perform a downwards teleport from this position. And I'll end up here. Now, it's very important, I don't want to hit up. Get your up key off your controller, your keyboard, whatever you're using. You don't want to be pressing it. All you want to do is half circle motions, going from left and right, hitting diagonals, and eventually you'll struggle yourself off the cliff. For this position, I can hop over here, hop onto these clouds, walk onto this land bridge, and then I can make a decision. I can jump down here. This will land me at the bottom of East Mountain, and this takes me to the top. And I can look around, check Spiral Cave, check Paradox on the way up, and I can check Floating Island, and I can even go grab it. So let's talk about the Floating Island, because why not? So while I'm here, I can use an upwards teleport to get out of bounds here. Observe how the clouds look. So this blue cloud here, this blue section of the cloud is water. That you can actually swim in. It's hard to get yourself unstuck as well if you have flippers, so be careful not to jump into it. This white cloud section is actually solid ground. There is a top of the map at the very top, and if you ever touch that, you'll be getting yourself into a hard lock. So what you want to do here is perform an upwards teleport from pretty much anywhere, and that puts me out of bounds here. Very carefully navigate your way over. Line yourself up with the top of this water pit that's here. So you can see if I jump into it, I'm swimming. So, line myself up top. I usually hold my sword out whenever I do any sort of dash buffer. Dash buffer once or twice to the right. Dash buffer once down. Now you'll see, I think this is actually too far, but it should be salvageable. You should see that Link is a bit over this water. Now, dash turn to the left and dash, and you'll collect the item, and you'll be on the finger quotes impenetrable floating island, but no worries. If you have spin speed, you can just jump off of that spin speed clippable section, and once you land here, you want to hit up, then left, and then you can walk off of it. Now, if you were to hit other directions, you'd be back out in the clouds, but you don't necessarily have to go... Oh, that's downwards. You don't necessarily have to go back on the island to get yourself back inbound, so as soon as I can get this clip, I'll show you. So there's a similar water section over here. Once again, don't want to move too far. Sword's actually obscuring my vision there. Get yourself on the border of where you'll jump. Dash buffer to the left. Dash buffer to the south. I don't think that's far enough. As soon as the bottom of my shadow lines up with that water bit, I can use the fact that I would be jumping into water by dashing into it, and that throws me further than usual. You can find alternative ways off of the floating island. That section is very, very clippable. So, see if I'm not close enough, then I'll just bump. I want to be close enough when I'm starting this dash. So, this is very, very clippable. I can just use a dash buffer clip. Get out on this side. Nope, not here. Sorry, here. This is too small to jump into. This is shallow water, you can walk over it. If I'm over on this side, I can actually use this water pit to jump back in bounds, or I can also use this one to get over to Hera's side. Collisions occasionally a bit weird here. Should be low enough. Yep. And I'm back on Hera's side. Similarly, I can use spin speed when I'm up by Hera to get myself across this one, and I can walk onto the land bridge all the same and avoid the hammer pegs if I don't have hammer. So as I mentioned earlier, you can do the East Death Mountain struggle in the Dark World as well. You use the second bomb from the top, and again, teleport downwards. You make sure that you hold down, left or right, but never up. You're never supposed to press up, except in one situation. So okay, so you can struggle yourself up same way you did in Light World. You may note that in the Dark World you don't land in the clouds. That's because cloud is solid. There is only one situation where you want to press up, and it is probably worth practicing, and that's the only reason I'm mentioning it right now. Then a later video, I will probably reiterate this in a later video. So you want to do 1/2 circle to struggle yourself one up, 1/2 circle to struggle yourself another snap up. I've already screwed this up. So once you're up here, I think it's here? No, I think I need to be higher. Here, I press up left. Up left on the same frame. Once I'm high enough, I'll be transported downwards when I do this. So the visual cue is if you're transported downwards, you're close enough to the cliff, to the jump. And the reason you want to do this is because you get on this position. Now this position is if you want to cross this bridge, it's identical to the one that you get normally. But if you want to place yourself in transition, you can just hold left, and then you jump to the transition close to it. Once we get into mirror wraps, in a later video, you'll want to be using this so you can save yourself a bomb. And for that reason, you should probably practice your ascent to this section of the land bridge in the Dark World with that little extra movement, so you are ready to do that at any time. And then once again, just jump off. I'm on top of the Dark World Death Mountain. There's a Dark World candy that we want to deal with. So in the Dark World, the cloud collision does not work the same as it does in the Light World. So in the Dark World, a lot of these clouds are actually solid, and you can't do a whole lot with them. And that prevents us from getting to the floating island so easily. In fact, let me just save here. I haven't ever tried from this side on Dark Death Mountain, but I have a feeling that I'll just get stuck. Yep, I am completely stuck. So I can't get into Hookshot Cave from the back, and let's say I don't have the blast to do this. Now what you can do is two things. Down at the bottom, you can screen wrap the same way we got into Hera. There's two methods that you can do this, and one of them's admittedly a lot riskier than the other one. So this one is the risky method. There are 4 bumps that you can count from the bottom here. On the 4th bump, roughly near the middle, you want to clip all the way through. That'll land you here, and then it's very important, you dash south. You get yourself on top of this little island, jump through to wrap the screen, and now if you check the geometry here, we are on the floating island, and then I can walk into the back entrance of it. Another way that you can deal with that, and this is safe because you can retry. So, alright, let me show you what happens if you miss it. So, let's say I was a little bit low. It wouldn't even let me clip through. Let's say I was a little bit low. I actually got into a position where I cannot dash turn. Pressed an input, and now I'm actually stuck here. You are, for all intents and purposes, stuck unless you have the mirror. If you have the mirror, this solid piece of flaming scenery is not there in the Light World. You can pass through it. Now I'm the other side of it, and I'll show you why that could be important. So the safer method of doing it is getting spin speed, jumping off of here. Now you want to walk all the way up to this cliff on the left. Hold out your sword, transition down. Now you're in this very weird and broken place. So you want to dash buffer up 4 pixels, and I got hit. Right, tutorial please. You want to dash buffer on 4 pixels, then jump, and while you're midair, you hold up. After you transition, you'll be swimming into this cliff. You want to tap right. If you didn't tap right, then you'll be swimming back here, you'll be jumping out, you have to retry. If you did tap right, you can actually not move right, so you're fine. And from here, you want to press left, and as soon as you're midair, hold up. This is an important part. Press left, as soon as I'm midair, hold up. We are abusing the fact that I'm still landing in water for some reason. The game thinks I'm actually supposed to land in water when I press, when I jump out here, and then I get an extra jump in any direction. I want that direction to be up. And I'm back on top of this rock again. And indeed, if I can find it, I can then at the back of Hookshot Cave. So this is how you get to Glovesless. This is not actually in the logic, but occasionally you get an early hookshot and no gloves. This might make it very convenient to check Hookshot Cave. You can walk out the front as well. It doesn't really matter that there's a rock there, but you cannot re-enter once you've walked out the front. You have to do the clip again. And one final thing that is very important for overworld glitches, Ganon style. So here I do the standard Hera clip or any Hera clip. Doesn't matter whether or not I reset my camera. I can walk into Hera and reset my camera and do it normally, or I can just do it without resetting my camera. So this spot, this exact spot near this left side diagonal joint, that's where the dark world portal is. You want to pick that up. If you reset your camera, you know exactly where it is. Now be careful, there are bushes placed all around you. In fact, if I walk up to one of these bushes and pick them up, I get into a softlock state of sorts where I cannot use items. This happens to you, you want to follow this path down anyway. If this happens to you, you can fix it by entering Spike Cave. Then Link will drop the invisible item. Now continuing on, you do not need to enter Spike Cave unless you softlock yourself. You want to get yourself into this position. So this is the wall, I'm lining up against it, and I have a sword out. The sword is sort of necessary to do this, because otherwise you cannot start clipping. The cliff is all weird. The hookshot isn't necessary. If you have the hookshot, you can do a spin speed while you're holding out your sword. You'll notice Link is walking much faster, and I can clip right into this position. Now, if I don't have the hookshot, I can still do the same, but I have to do dash buffer clipping. It's very easy, because there's no exact position that you need to reach. If I do this right, the cliff won't actually let me clip any further. And now, once you're in this position, either way, you just hold down right, and you get thrown because I moved down to single pixel. Well, alright, let's try this again. Right, if you ever get yourself thrown like that, you usually want to either flute or save and quit, because God knows where you end up, and you are very likely to hardlock yourself. Alright, let me show this again without hookshot first. Okay. Now I just press down right, and I hop onto the GT stairs, but you're slightly too far to the right. So what you want to do first is press right. That should be your first action, otherwise you'll get stuck again. Jump down by pressing down right. Once you land it, tap right, and now you can walk up the stairs. And the same thing with hookshot. Never do spin speeds downwards, because some of these walls don't stop your hookshot. Again, you'll find that the jump down to Spike Cave is roughly in this column, and then this jump down is fairly easy because it lines up with the other jump down, get around those rocks, get yourself down here. So now I do the same thing with the spin speed. I have the spin speed because Link is moving very silly while holding my sword. I move into it, hold down right, tap right, move up the stairs. I am in Ganon's Tower. Ganon's Tower is in the logic as soon as you have a sword, pearl, and boots. So that should be it for Death Mountain. Death Mountain is one of the most breakable places in the game, and I invite you to experiment with it because I'm sure we don't know everything about it just yet. Now, let's talk about other early game spots. The first thing I want to show off is an easy way to get to the racing game item without having to go through the house. So if you ever opt to check everything in Kakariko and then come down in this area, there's several things that start with this. You can teleport and then hop a few times. Every time you move, Link gets a few pixels higher. Make sure you move up, because otherwise the screen won't let you transition down. Then you transition down. Now, if you count 4 bumps from this position, 1, 2, 3, 4. Eventually you'll be faster at this. I still need to count myself. If you quick hop from this position, you'll land on the item without ever having to start the race game. You can pick it up real quick. Of course, this way you'll skip the library, but there are some convenient ways to come back and check it, depending on your routing. Alright, so back in this position. Another thing that you can do from here, this area, is just get into Desert Palace. So there's a variety of ways that you can do this. One of them is take the lowest bump, and I don't know the exact inputs. You teleport up, and that's not the exact inputs. If you don't press the right inputs, you'll be pushed upwards, and you can walk around here. You can either jump down or salvage it from this cliff, but these bumps are actually non-standard. In fact, the entire desert area clips are non-standard. And notice that I am not teleporting downwards trying to get up there. That's one of the reasons. Yeah, I swear to God, it's up. No, it's not up. Okay. Oh, yes. Alright. So this geometry is all weird. So what you want to do here is teleport upwards, hold right, hold left, and you jump on top. So that's one of the ways you can do it. There's also a way that you can nab that race item if you teleport in the right position. I haven't been able to figure that out. Another way that you can do Desert is to do a non-standard downwards teleport from here. So what you want is to be 1 pixel lower than usual. This top pixel of the 2 pixel column that you use as a visual reference, the top pixel should be lining up with the bottom of the shadow. So I clip into it. This is my favorite one, and you get this very weird pixel architecture where you have 3 pixels, then 1 missing, and then 1 more pixel. Then you hold down right, and you jump here. Make sure you release down right as soon as you start this jumping, because otherwise you'll be jumping back down there. Then you can just hold down, move into the desert area. As soon as you're on top of this, you should be fine for the most part. Occasionally you get weird palette corruptions because the game doesn't actually expect you to transition while you're here. We can jump down, check this item, and then dive into Desert from the left side. Desert, in logic, is open from the moment you start the game. You don't need any additional items for that. Another way that you can abuse this, potentially, is to get into the back of Desert. So for this, again, you want to go all the way in, get this neat little teleport, and then you want to take this avenue all the way to the end. And then you want to be as far right as possible. So notice I am currently dash buffering downwards and then trying to move right to see if I'm all the way possible. This might still not be it. But if you get this neat little place where Link gets under this whatever that is stuck in the wall here, you just hold up, jump down. you're now in front of Desert Palace's back entrance. Of course, if you don't have gloves, once you're done with land molars, you can't really get out of there. Now, if you were to be short and you would have to jump over to the left side, you can still salvage it. And notice that this is a two-layer cliff. That means we can use a hop here. I buffer all the way in. May want to do it a little bit lower so I don't get stuck on the vertical wall. And I also may want to just get my right clipping together. Yep, and I jump on top of this rock. So now I can move off the rock to the north and enter. Once again, you get yourself stuck with this way if Rambo doesn't have a glove. So you may want to be careful with that. From desert, you can use an upwards teleport from either entrance, really, to get yourself up on these respective cliffs, and then you can start exploring around. Here you can enter Checkerboard Cave. If you want to, you can jump down, enter it if you have the gloves. You can also get back up on that cliff using... Well, I think you cannot use a spin speed clip here because this is too short. Yep, this is too short. The vertical wall is stopping you. The topmost bump before a vertical wall is always going to stop you. So I can use a downwards teleport and get myself back up from Checkerboard Cave as well. And notice that I am... Okay, I should be a little bit to the right. Notice that I am just right near where I started. There are alternative ways that I can use this as well, because if I know that, then I can just do a flip here. That's one pixel too far in. Do a flip here, and then I can enter this desert area, get into Checkerboard Cave, get down to Agina's, and also get myself into Cave 45. So, regarding Cave 45, there's two other ways you can get up to that from here. One is this cliff. This might be very good if you open with the Grove for the chance at 2 bombs, because this bottom part is out of the sight of the guards, so you can pretty safely clip up. If you have a weapon, you can also use this area. All of these that I'm showing off also work in the Dark Vault for the Maya area identically. I will be showing them separately, but useful to know. Use the third bump here, also get myself on top of this. Now, other things you can do, if you don't want to be up there, you can be down here. As I showed you earlier, there's the spin speed flip, or just a pure right side flip. I am terrible at right sides, I'm sorry about this. Just a right side flip, get yourself on top of this. And you want to transition as high as possible, because this broken screen transition is very, very, very prone to hardlock you. So move all the way north before you do this, and then you can get into Cave 45. Now from here, if you do a hop from this cliff, and get yourself on this little vertical bit, you can actually move into it, and now you can walk back to Agina's. So this is something that you can do, definitely. This area is something that neatly ties together. And as the practice clip that I used in the very early segments of this tutorial, this is a way up to Bombo status as well. So this is also fully in logic. You need only Master Sword and Book for this to be open, no mirror, no Darkhold access, nothing. You can also use this side. It is a right side clip, so I don't recommend it. But if your fingers work better than mine, well, you're welcome to. It always feels so bad when you see that you're 1 pixel away and then you mess up that 1 pixel. In fact, I I went 1 pixel too far this time. I'm gonna get this. Now I'm gonna get this. There we go. So this is the position, and then you can just jump on top of it. Alright, so that's the desert area. Let's show off Maya. That's this save state. So once again, you can use this. The same place in Dark World. You use this to get yourself in here. Watch out for the rain. If you clip into the Maya area while the rain is still going in the Maya area, you'll get those broken graphics. As soon as you enter the underworld, it will be fixed. You can use the third bump here normally, unlike in the light world. That will throw you a bit further. Be very careful not to transition. And then you can come down here. And then you still have the same options in this area as well, so you can use in the sight of the guard this glyph. And then you're in there. And once you're inside the Maya area, you can use this. I'm gonna get this flashing away because this flashing is annoying. So you'll usually check Maya Shed at the very least. Even open up Maya. Once I get out, now I have rain instead of screen flashing. Now the interesting thing about this is that the game does not try to render this rain in the Dark World anywhere else, but once again, third bump. The rain sound does not stop. The rain sound keeps going until you enter and exit the underworld. So that's a thing. But it's still magnitudes less problematic than the screen flashing. So that's Misery Maya in this area. Let's see if I have anything else. Oh yes, one very important thing. This one. Very, very important. So, saw what I did in the night world. I can use these to teleport upwards as well. And I'll be using an arbitrary one. I think the third one is probably the best for this. So I teleport upwards. Oh! I'm gonna have to cut the tutorial. I never showed off the bumps in the Dark World, but I will. This is the point where I realized the video is probably going to be entirely out of order. And then you can use this bump to teleport upwards again, putting you on top of this ledge, which we used to check the racing game earlier on. And you can just bypass the MITS requirement here for Village of Outcasts. So, we went through Village of Outcasts. As you could see, the flute has been completely erased from the logic. Another thing that has been completely erased from the logic is the Bumper Cave's required item, Cape. Because, as it has been with all other such high up cliffs, you have a clip for it. You perform a downwards teleport as usual from the third bump from the bottom. Jump to the right, now you're up here. You collect it. When you jump down, be very careful. I've already killed it because I've tried this once. The other bird will immediately aggro you, but you probably already know this. Alright. Let's see here. Anything else in this area? We've covered most of the in-logic clips. Except the hobo and the moat. I do not have enough save state slots to store this many things, so I'm gonna have to hijack the one that's closest to it. I should have just save and quit to the house, but in some of these save states I've modified my equipment from my usual practice setup, and I don't like that. So this is a weird one. And given that I probably don't need the initial setup anymore, I'm just going to put a save state here. So, Hylia and Hobo. Once again, you'll be doing a downwards teleport that is going to put you on a screen transition. So right now, I'm still on the same screen on this cliff. If I jump left, I'll actually jump onto the screen transition, and that messes up my collision a little bit, because now I can walk onto this cliff. Now from here I have two options. I can either walk downwards, and this will get me into an auto walk, as mentioned before. Screen transition, being on a screen transition and then transitioning will put you into an auto walk state. From here I can jump onto the Lake Hylia Island. This is fully in logic, and get the item. Now the other thing I can do from this, that's an upwards teleport, and I really don't want that. The other thing I can do with this is come back on screen, and now I'm on top of this this little hill here. I can jump down to this other hill, and I can actually set up a fake flipper very neatly. So, well, you get the idea. That probably wasn't a fake flipper, because I have the real ones. But I can very quickly get myself to the Hobo without having to swim around. Finally, we're going to do what's called the Mittless Hammer Pegs. Oh, and there's the bat flip. Don't forget the bat flip. Also fully in logic. So for this, I need to be near the pyramid mode, just on the north side of this. So I can do it from a variety of spots. If I have flippers, I can use this spot right here to get myself into the moat with a spin speed clip. Do I get it? I don't want to jump up. I think I can erase that save state now. Right, so I can jump off, show you I'm in the moat. From here I want to swim north. And I'll get myself into the same position as this. This is one way you can do it both dash buffered and with spin speed. With spin speed you need to abuse the very tight window that you have to press down left. Get into the water here. If you don't have flippers, you are actually jumping into a perfect position where you can fake flipper. If you don't want to do the spin speed setup, you can instead just dash buffer through this. And you can once again get yourself into fake flippers. Now, what is the practical purpose of the mode? This has no exits, but since it was never designed for you to be swimming in, it has a few broken screen transitions, and one of them is this. Right, so you see, I transition the screen, I don't press anything, I struggle back. How could we potentially abuse that? So we transition the screen, hold upright, which puts me on the land. Whenever you're swimming and you're transitioning into something that puts you into solid ground, you have one frame to do something about it. And in this case, we hold upright because I'm inside this cliff. It wants me to knock me this way, but I want to come this way. So I snap myself by pressing upright. Once again, if I'm stuck in something, you want to press the input opposite to the way you want to be going. So that's why I press upright. I get myself knocked onto land here, and I can actually do the hammer pegs. Now, if I don't have mitts, it's going to be a dead end for me. And this is the perfect place to also show you the bat clip and the dark world equivalent. So this one is difficult, especially if you have the flippers, and it also has hard locking potential, but it is in logic, so it is advised that you learn it. So you line yourself up with this fence. You want to be just north of this fence, and you dash buffer into this cliff. Now, don't go too far if you have flippers, because if you jump into the water, you'll get yourself locked. In fact, I don't know if this is far enough. I think this is far enough. I'm going to wager that it is far enough. You want to not get the jump. Alright, let me show you what a jump looks like when you have flippers. You jump into the water here. If you don't have flippers, you'll get automatically put back from the to the spot where you jumped from. But now you're stuck in this very awkward position. It's usually so hard to get yourself out of it. You can abuse the same properties as for the midsless hammer pegs if you're good at it, but usually it's not worth it and you just want to save and quit. So what you want to do instead is not fully buffer in, and it's worth learning the visual cue of when you jump. See, that's too far, that's a jump. For this exact reason. So once you reach around this area, I think it's this area, then you can just dash up. See, I screen wrapped. Now, if you don't have flippers, you immediately want to be holding right. If you have flippers, it doesn't matter if you hold right or not, as long as you don't press any other inputs. Now, what you want to do is transition to the right. You'll get this neat little wraparound effect. You want to press up to snap yourself down. If you don't do this, you are going to hard lock. Now swim all the way to the right, as far as you can, hold up again. Now you jump out of the water, and then you can move down, and you'll fall down the Batcave. So this way you can access the Batcave without either the hammer or the mirror and mitts. And since it is a multi-entrance cave, there's a hole to it, there's a door to it, it'll fix your camera. But once again, in fact, for this attempt, I'm going to take away the flippers so I can show you better as soon as I find it. It's an equipment. I'm going to take away the flippers. So if you don't have flippers, it's a little more lenient, because what you can do is clip all the way in. You don't have flippers, so you get put back. So what do you want to do? You want to dash buffer 1 pixel to the right, and then do the screen wrap. Hold right to fake flipper into this transition. Press up, hold right, press up, press down. You're in Batcave. Once again, this is fully in logic. Fake powder isn't, because you could be spending your mushroom at the witch. But this is, and with powder you may have an early progression item in here despite you not having hammer or mitts and mirror. Now, same can apply in the dark world actually. So you have these very pesky dark rocks that you can't get through, right? So you want to line up a similar screen wrap. I think you are... Oh no, that's a problem, isn't it? Oh no, that's still good. But you don't want to ever press down because you'll get the hard lock. You should probably start a little bit higher. So a thing that you can do to line this up, if you have the mirror, is move above the where you know the fence will be. Place Dark World portal, move down to the fence. And now you've entered the Dark World on the same Y pixel. And then once you do this, you'll be able to see what the visual cue you need to use for this will be. So I'm gonna make a save state here. Just oh no, I know what I forgot. I want to take away the flippers so I can use it for fake flippers. So again, you want to jump past the transition so you can fake flipper into the transition. Then you can press up, and now you've actually landed. So this is much friendlier, and what I did there was wrong for the reason that that I was on the transition, so I get an auto walk to the right. So that's what happened. You are actually on the other side now. You're somewhere roughly around here. Your Y pixel on screen will be correct. Your X pixel will not be. In fact, everything is to my right currently. So when I'm all the way by these pegs, the pegs are actually on my right side. So as you can hear, I've actually knocked down some of the pegs. I can see on the left that in this broken screen that something happened, and if I line it up, I can do this. You generally just want to use the moat, but if you for some reason have a good reason to get yourself stuck between the bit rocks on a broken screen, if you can find these last pegs, that will be a really big help. You can open up the hammer pegs, and the entrance will be somewhere down behind these trees where it's really hard to see. Now, I can also fix my camera off of this. As usual, you can just place the mirror portal. The mirror portal will actually be in its correct spot. But I did manage to mirror myself on top of the peg. So as we mentioned before, global position does not correspond to local position. Your mirror portal is invisible. You jump into Batcave. You bonk on that because you have really bad control of Blink, and now you'll see where I actually mirrored. So I was there the whole time. Alright. So that covers everything that is done with boots. That's all the dash buffered clips and all the spin speed clips. There's an additional bonus. So this one's fairly stressful, but it is in the logic with Pearl. Currently the v29 logic does not expect you to be able to water walk with boots. I don't know if it's because water walking was a recent discovery or because it was broken in v28, just heard rumors, but it's currently not in the logic without Pearl, and as we know we can set up water walking out of Waterfall Fairy Cave with fake flippers. But you just dash south near the hole into the door in this cave, or minimal dome cave. You can obviously activate it by dashing south of the cliff. Minor glitches, for the most part, are actually in the logic for this mode, so learn your water walkings and learn your fake flippers. Now, you can use that stored water walk and Pearl water walk from Waterfall Fairy Cave to get double water walk, which is useful because you can water walk all the way to the waterfall, jump down, and then get this ledge item. But what if you don't have double water walk stored? Start by killing all of these Zoras, because they're going to be very annoying, but they don't infinitely spawn, so once you've killed all of them, you should be safe. Now, here, we're going to use the hoppable property of this ledge. If you take damage, of course, you'll be knocked into water, so you don't want that. This is a very, very, very long clip, so have to buffer for quite a while without messing up in order to get it, but once you get it, you can jump up there, you can go around and get your item. There's a very specific pixel that lets you jump in there instead of, or on top of the fence instead of getting into this position, but this position is perfectly fine. If you don't get it, you don't get it. Just walk around. Usually you don't see anyone walking around here. Just walk around, get your item. Of course, you cannot really escape this place once you are in here without flippers, so be mindful of that. You may not be able to pick up Zora's item after you do this. And the other thing that you can do... Oh, in the save state I don't have the Zora grid. Spawn, damn you. Spawn. There we go. You just don't want any surprises. If you have a spin speed, you can also use the usual stuff. You may need to struggle a little bit up, so let me show you that one again. Get yourself lined up. You jump once, jump again, you move to the right or press left, and then you can move around and get it. That's the much easier way, instead of having to do 20 dash buffers in a row without messing up. To the right. That's always very bad. So when you're lining this up, you always want to be on the free moving vertical, and then you want to put yourself a little bit above that obvious joint that's in the hill there. First, you always jump into water no matter what happens, because the game still thinks you should be falling into water once. Then you'll be landing on this side. You just move yourself out of it and be on your way to pick up that item. Alright, so that is finally... No, it's not! It's still not over. Still not over. One more thing that's in logic and one more thing that's out of logic, and this is one of the more difficult clips. So I'm going to show it to you a few times. It's the graveyard ledge clip, and it's very exact. So what you want to do is you set up spin speed, you walk down along this cliff. Once you reach the bottom point, you hold down left. It's very important that you walk down along this cliff, because that sets your X pixel correctly. If your every other X pixel, I believe, is going to be a failure. But this always guarantees a successful X pixel. Then you hold down left to clip through here, jump down here, and while you're falling, you hold up left to put so that once you land, it will put you in the correct position. And once you have landed and you have visually moved you to holding up left, you release left and just hold up. So that's a very complicated series of movements. This is what it looks like. And it puts you on top of the graveyard ledge, and you can go get it. Once again, set up spin speed, hold down left, hold up left, and once I have visually moved, hold up, and I get on top of this. So what happens if I don't set it up correctly? This is going to be a 50-50, it might still end up looking successful. Probably won't be though. I actually hopped here, which is bad because if I hit up, I get an auto walk instead of getting that neat little transition. What happens if I don't hold up left? Well, I get myself stuck in here and I have to save quit. So be very careful about this. You always want to do a setup. Down, down left, up. It's a rhythm, and once you get the feeling for it, it should be simple. Now, there's two things that you can do with this. One is, as you obviously see, jump down, check graveyard ledge, or, and that is the in-logic application. The out-of-logic application is that you dash turn to the right, dash buffer up 2 pixels, 2 more, dash buffer once to the right. So, since I have landed, I have moved 4 pixels up, 1 pixel to the right, and I dash. And if I did this correctly, and I didn't because I must have buffered a lot more, usually there's no things obscuring my vision here, but unfortunately, in the practice ROM, I have a lot of visual clutter to deal with. So let's try this again. 2, 4. 1 to the left, 1 to the right shouldn't matter. So this time around, I dash buffered 2 up, dash buffer twice up for a total of 4 pixels, dash buffer once to the left for a total of 2 pixels. So now I landed between this rock and this bush. So now what I do is I press left, press up. This way I have neatly wedged myself in between this rock and the bush. And to showcase this, let me turn off Titan Spins. So now I am standing on the bush. I can't do anything, but if I face down, I can actually pick up this dark rock. Again, no mitts. This is because the game thinks I am standing on top of the bush, and when you're standing on top of something that you can pick up, and then you pick something up, the game's like, oh hey, I'm going to check it against whatever you're standing on, because that's probably the thing that you want to be picking up. So this way I can get myself into Kingston. Let's show that again. So I do the graveyard ledge clip, down, not get hit by water, down, right, left, up, left, dash buffer twice up. I think that's already too much. Press left, press up, look down, pick up the rock, throw it. This is not in logic yet, but this is one way you can get to Kingston very easily from a spawn point very fast, without any lift upgrades. And the thing I want to show off is something that is fully in logic. So currently, setting up spin speed clip. Right, I have the spin speed state, down slash my sword, move down here. Notice that when you're in spin speed state, Link's animations are super fast for some reason. You just hold down right, and you are now on this cliff. You can choose which entrance of T-Rock to take here. You can choose the laser ball, you can choose the big chest. Personally, I prefer the big chest. The laser ball, if you spawn on the laser ball, you have to immediately hit south. And the same is true for laser bridge, but that is not in logic. So you bomb it open, you can exit or move up. As long as the door's there, you can't move up. You spawn here. If you don't have hookshot or Samaria, that's still not a problem because you can bonk this south wall, and I didn't do it correctly because I was talking instead of focusing. You line up against this left side wall, bonk this south wall and hold left, and you'll be getting across the separator. So that's one neat way that you can get around the hookshot or Samaria requirement for this area. You cannot really bonk over here because you'll fall into it, but you can definitely bonk here. Of course, without those items you will not be checking the big chest here, but that's the smallest thing really. So let's talk about mirror clips. So as you saw me earlier, I clipped out of bounds using a mirror portal near that broken bridge, and this is doable as a bunny as well. And actually, I think I'll show it off as a bunny because it's probably just better that way. Alright, so this position should not have moonfall. Good, I do not have moonfall in this state. So, and yes, I did leave a dark world portal stuck on a ledge over there. It somehow let me dark world portal there, or mirror there. Right, so screen wrapped as usual. I could have just climbed it, but we don't do that anymore. And as a bunny, go up to this bridge. This works as Link as well, but bunny is more convenient to show off because the only reason you would really be doing this is you're a bunny. So when you're a bunny, you can still use a mirror, and we'll be abusing this fact a lot. We use the mirror to place a portal. We moved 1 pixel to the right before re-entering. Now we're going to place another portal. And I usually just use Link's shadow as a reference to line this up. Generally, as long as the shadow is touching, you should be still in the portal zone, so you want the shadow to be touching as little as possible. I can just hold right and jump off here. Now, what you want to do is get yourself over to that cliff, and honestly, this is really annoying to pass. Not exactly sure what the dark world method is, but you still have a mirror, so you should be able to place a portal that lets you cross. And this one's harder to line up, and I think I got it correctly. Lets you pass onto it, and then you can come off of it. Now, you want to line up here against this wall. Place one final dark world portal. Very carefully move to the south. You don't want to move too far south because that will jump you on top of Death Mountain. So what you want is, you want to be a bunny on this cliff and just hold down. You did this correctly, you will be jumping onto East Death Mountain as a bunny. And then you can go ahead and check the entirely inner logic. Wow. That's not Super Bunny Cave. The entirely in logic Super Bunny Cave as a Super Bunny. This is something that you often hear about in Rando, in NMG modes, but there's like a once in a blue moon thing that someone actually decides to do this in an NMG mode. Well, in overworld glitches, this could be required of you. There are less understandable ways to achieve the same effect, which are not required from you by logic, and therefore will not be covered in this tutorial, but in a later tutorial it will come up. So right now, notice that I can slash my sword, I can dash, because I fell down a hole in the underworld. I am a Super Bunny. So I can open this chest, maybe even open this chest, and can also smash that skull. If you bonk, then you will lose your Super Bunny state, and also if you take damage, but there's nothing to damage you down there. So you can get out of here, and transitioning to the overworld also loses Super Bunny, so now I am a normal bunny, can't slash my sword, can't dash. But that doesn't mean we can't do anything here, so obviously Hookshot Cave is going to be a problem. But we can use a mirror clip to get ourselves into P-Rock, and indeed it may be required of you to do this. So for this, and I think I left it a little too far to the left, so I'm gonna try again. You just want to be a little bit right of the door that you see there in the dark world. And now I just move all the way to the edge of the cliff after placing the dark world portal, and it won't bonk me. I am on this cliff, so I just hold down, and now I'm a bunny. You can choose which entrance you want to enter. If you enter this one, what you do is walk into this pit a whole lot of times. It's very slow, but you'll get this safe door. If you enter this one though, you'll be stuck in this wall, and the laser will be able to hit you, so if you don't have red mail like I do right now, it actually delivers a very swift death. On green mail, this is 4 hearts per hit. And we'll be using Dungeon Bunny Revival, because if you die in a dungeon as a bunny, you will actually become Link. So you can now press down, place a bomb, while being bombarded by lasers. It should give you adequate time to bomb it open, and then you'll be on your way. So this is logically completely acceptable, because the logic expects you to be able to get to East Death Mountain as a bunny only using mirror, and it also expects you to be able to dip into T-Rock only using the mirror as a bunny. Besides that, as I showed you earlier, and for this I might as well also use... This is the wrong save state. Might as well also use the save state where I still only have a bunny. Into the dark world. Prepare my mirror for the tricks. It's just smoking mirrors. And then line up against this wall again. Perform the mirror clip. I don't think I'm in the portal right now. There we go. If you are just on the very edge of the portal, buffer once to the right, buffer once to the left, that will move you 1 pixel to the left. And that usually is enough to take the portal. Come down here. Between these two diagonal sections, there is this little broken section. You can walk through this. Then you can walk on top of this rock. Now you have descended. Now you're a bunny in the Darkworld mainland. And that is a very neat way to tie into what can a bunny really do in the Darkworld mainland. Well, logically, there's a couple of things that you could be expected to do. First off, and I should save state here so I can do this without resetting too much. First off, I can dip into Skullwoods. As we saw with T-Rock, if I decide to die in a dungeon as a bunny, then I will respawn as Link. There is one additional side effect to this, and that's why there's actually 2 ways you can do this. So one of the ways you can do this is you fall into this hole, wait for the Wallmaster to grab you. Getting Wallmastered will put you in a Link state. Now, there is a fundamental difference between this and Dungeon Find Revival, and I'm about to show you. So if I do this and exit the dungeon, notice that I'm a bunny again and I am in the Darkworld. Now, to contrast that, I can do this whole, you know, your standard way of entering Skullwoods, and I can very slowly and agonizingly die. It's probably better off just using these holes right now, because with the red mail barely taking damage here. The first thing to note, once I respawn, that the skulls have become pots. This is because if you haven't defeated Aga 1, and in the randomizer there's an extra condition, if you haven't defeated Aga 1 and do not have the mirror, sorry, or do not have the mirror, then you will spawn in the fake light world after dying in a Darkworld dungeon. So what does fake light world mean for us? For this screen and this screen only, I am in the Darkworld. For all intents and purposes, this is a Darkworld. This hole will still lead into Skullwoods, that door will still lead into Skullwoods, and until I do a specifically overworld transition, I will remain as Link on a Darkworld screen, but in the light world. And indeed, I can enter the dungeon as Link, exit, still be in the fake light world because I'm still Link, the parts inside will still parts. I can open up Skullwoods and I can go defeat Mafia. However, if you're in the fake light world, transitioning will put you back in the real light world, and I will show you this as soon as I get out of Skullwoods. So notice that as soon as I exit, things become strange. I am still using a weird palette. These trees still look like Darkworld trees, but I have Lightworld guards. This should be the first sign that you have changed worlds. Second sign that you have changed worlds. The first sign should be the music. It will still look vaguely Darkworld-ish, but for all intents and purposes, this is a reskinned Lightworld. And indeed, if I enter this house, it's going to be the lady's house, and that right next to us is still Blind's hut. And in fact, going into the underworld and coming out has fixed my palette as well. This is not a thing that happens in NMG modes in randomizer. It has specifically been patched out for those modes. But in vanilla it will happen, and in major glitches modes, fake light world and fake dark world are not patched out. And that's how you achieve fake dark world. It's not very useful, but it has its uses. If you can get fake dark world on this screen, you can do Thieves Down and the three item bearing huts. But even without fake dark world, I have the ability to do these item bearing huts. So there's two things I can do. And for this, let me make a save state. So one is getting hit by an enemy, whether or not they do damage, into the doorway, and then transitioning after that hit will give me Super Bunny state in that building. This works with dungeons, so if Thieves Town was open, I could do it. I can loot that chest, and I think Thieves Town is open, so I can show that off as well. Come with me, thief. Right here. Hi. Oh no. Pull him into the doorway, have him knock me into it, and I don't think it works with Thieves Town actually. No, it doesn't work with Thieves Town because of the awkward stairs. But it definitely works with Sea House, and it works with the treasure chest game. And that is also in the logic. Now, I can use this card here to get myself into this doorway. I just need to make sure that once he hits me in there. Hi. Follow me. Hits me in there, and I transition. Now I'm a Super Bunny. If you're not a Super Bunny, then you can still talk to this guy and pay the money, but you cannot open the chests. It's a really good way to get scammed. What you can do here as well, if you don't want to get hit by an enemy, is enter and exit one of these huts, and use the mirror for Super Bunny transition glitch, and that the logic expects you to use this specific method to achieve Super Bunny here. That I am standing currently on the very transition of this door. If I move even a single pixel upwards, I will move into the house. So what I want to do is on the same frame as I move, I want to use the mirror. And if I got it correctly, I am a Super Bunny. So once again, standing in a doorway on the very last pixel of the transition, which you can usually achieve by entering and exiting, you use the mirror and enter. Works every time. Unfortunately, once you exit the underworld, you lose your Super Bunny state. I wonder if this actually works with Thieves Town. Thieves Town is such a weird entrance. Nope. Thieves Town does not put you on the transition. So these are the various buildings that could potentially hold Moon Pearl in overworld glitches. This Sea House, the treasure chest game over on this side, and the front of Schoolwoods. The back of Schoolwoods can never hold the Moon Pearl, because if it could, then, and this is again overworld glitches specific, if it could, then you could potentially defeat Aga 1, which loses your ability to create fake dark world in the area, and then you would have a really hard time creating a situation where you can actually open that back door of Skullwoods with the fire on. Now one more thing that could come up with this very specific technique is I did that one pixel too high. I am on the verge of looting, really. So that's why you don't hold down right for too long. Oh, sorry, down left. So, another thing that you can do, use this bump, as I showed you very early in this tutorial, to get up on this ledge. Now, if you do have the mirror, mirror, myths. First, myths. You can lift that rock, enter the dark world in the mirror area, even as a bunny. And this is, once more, in logic, that you can either use this murder dactyl, or you can use the mirror to give yourself Super Bunny as you enter the Maya shed. So I got hit on the same frame as I entered, and as long as I don't take damage in here, I have Super Bunny. I can open these chests. These can also contain the Bombo. Now the other thing that I can do, once again, enter, exit, enter on the same frame as I use the mirror, and I have Super Bunny again. So that is a transition glitch that you may need to use in order to, for example, get yourself to Moonpearl as a bunny. While we're on the topic of where else can Moonpearl be that I really don't like, there's one more location that may not be immediately obvious, although this could more often pop up in NMG. And that's Ice Palace. And do I have flippers? Yeah, then I don't need to take flippers set up here. So, Ice Palace, same way as Skullwoods and T-Rock. You can enter as a bunny, it's very easy because you can just swim to this ledge. You don't even need flippers for this to be in logic. Ice Palace could have the flippers in overworld glitches. You can trigger this statue, or freeze, or whatever they're called. He'll make very quick work of you if you don't have red mail. You die. And now you're Link in the fake Dark World in Ice Palace. Now, notice I am, again, in the fake Dark World. Whenever you're on a Dark World screen, and this is Dark World screen even though I am in the Light World in general, you can use the mirror. Now, the mirror only says flip the world you're in. It doesn't say put Link in the Light World, it says flip whatever world you're in. So you were in the Light World on a Dark World screen, that's why it's a fake Dark World. And you use the mirror, it flipped your world to Dark World, so now you're in the Dark World in a Dark World screen. So you can fix fake Dark World only using the mirror. Of course, if you had a Link state, you'll lose it because you entered the Dark World. Unless you have the Moonpearl, of course. So that mostly covers mirror clips, but mirror portals have additional uses. And as we discussed before, and I think I should return to this state again, we can use Dark World portals to, we can use mirror portals, sorry, to, place ourselves in weird positions using, the global coordinates of Link that are shifted. Now, there's a few ways that we can get off of Death Mountain as a bunny, only using mirror. One of them was the mirror clip that I showed you, but there are several others. So there's one that leaves you with placing a portal here. Now, this places a portal just south of the graveyard. So, you place your portal, go on down, you enter the Old Man's Cave to reset your camera. This is very important whenever you're descending from Death Mountain. You want to reset your camera, except in one very specific case that will not be covered by this tutorial. But will be by a later one. This is really cool. So now notice I placed it here, seemingly, but it's actually down there, again, south of graveyard. So for this, I usually use this DMD in the Light World, get off of Death Mountain. Notice, again, this is the one with the broken transition on the left. Pick up my portal. And then I am on my merry way. No broken interactions, I can do whatever. So another thing that you can do is and for this I kinda want Moonpearl do not attempt this as a bunny. I'm warning you. So, I Hera clipped, I entered the Dark World portal without fixing my camera, and all I want to do is dash to the left here. And we have successfully transitioned to a very broken skin. Do not attempt this as a bunny. The only reason this works as Link is because you dash right through the bush that is to your left. As you could hear, I cut a bush. Now, if you attempt it as a bunny, you have to walk around the bush without messing up your camera. And that's really difficult. You probably don't want to do that. Notice everything around me is broken, and I don't really want to mess around with that. So I'll place a Dark World portal, and that will show me where I actually am. I'm near Sanctuary, so all I want to do is dash up to use Sanctuary as a way to fix my camera. So now that I've entered the multi-entrance Sanctuary and exited, my camera is fixed, and the Dark World portal I left is actually here. So this is something that you can use even as a bunny if you know what you're doing. I do not recommend it, and you should probably look into alternatives if you're using it as a bunny. If you're using it as Link, it's fairly safe because if you dash to the left, you won't usually get into a hard lock. But of course, if you're Link, and you don't want to mess around with camera shenanigans, this one won't be Link. This one just erased the one that will be Link. Cool. Alright. So this one will be Link. But of course, if you're Link and you reset your camera properly, then as we discussed before, you don't need to do any fancy shenanigans. What you just want to do is pick up the portal, and without hammer or gloves, you'll be Link in the Dark World mainland by going to where the Old Man's Cave is supposed to be, and either spin speed or dash buffer flipping through this ledge, dashing up, or pressing down, and you're down there. Okay. So one final thing that's in the logic, and you may be expected to do this with mirror portals, is Pyramid Ferry. So for this one, very specifically, you want to keep your screen wrapped, pick up this normal Dark World portal on top of Death Mountain, and even as a bunny, it's totally fine. Pyramid Ferry can have the moon pearl if you have the mirror. You keep your screen wrapped and you walk over here. Now, notice this little edge of this patch. What you want to do is somewhere around here. It's not particularly precise because we can fix that. Place a mirror portal. From here, you can do three things. You can either flute immediately. That's totally fine. You can also, if you don't flute, what you want to do first is reset your camera in Old Man's Cave. So then you can either death walk. The goal is, as you can see, currently my Dark World portal is in Hyrule Castle Courtyard, so I want to get down there without saving and quitting. What I can do is I can die. Then I get a save and continue menu, my Dark World portal is preserved, and I can spawn in Link's house, and that's everything saved. Or alternatively, I could also Death Mountain descend anywhere. So, as you know, you can flip through here, flip through this edge. Once you land, you press left, you dash up, and then you hold down. And then you descend. You can descend through here. Again, spin speed clip or dash buffer clip. Once you're down there, you dash up, you press down, and then you fix the camera transition that's to your left. Don't walk into it, it'll hard lock. One more thing that you can do, and this is an aspect of Death Mountain descents that we haven't discussed yet. So I'm going to perform a graveyard ledge descent here. I've descended at the graveyard ledge. One of the aspects of Death Mountain descents is that the game has no idea what to do with you. So what happens when the game has no idea what to do with you and you fall into a hole? Houlihan room. So you can descend near any of the hole. There's the ferry drop, there's the back of escape. You can walk into it, and then you exit. You exit from Link's house. And notice the Dark World portal is still there. Houlihan is a great way to get back to Link's house from anywhere, if you can achieve it. It's not usually easy to achieve. And now here's the task that you want to perform here. You'll pick up a bush, and you'll stand between these two specific trees facing north, while you clip the mirror portal. Notice while I'm holding something, the mirror portal doesn't actually take anything. So stand between these two and throw the bush, holding north. And then, on the same frame as you transition with the mirror, you enter the Pyramid Ferry, and you have Super Bunny, so the chests in here are openable. Unfortunately, this Super Bunny is lost when you exit, but you can still pick up the Pyramid item. That is going to be sitting right there, unless I picked it up in this save state. So that's 3 items that could potentially be Moon Pearl or anything leading up to it. And that is basically everything for the v29 overworld glitches logic. We have covered basically every spot that requires major glitches to access it. Yep, I think that's it. Alright, so that concludes this video. In the next video in the series, I want to show off things that are out of logic for overworld glitches, but are allowed. And that would include mirror wraps, that would include various screen wraps that haven't been implemented into the logic, and it also includes various uses of YBAs, why, how, what color, which are transition glitches. So I'll see you there, and also on my Twitch channel where I regularly stream major glitches seeds or no logic. Once again, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll enjoy your overworld glitches experience. I'll see you in the next video.